I just found it so demanding on my body.
Ella is a former gymnast who then made the move into semi-professional diving.
Your parents have to give up their life to enable you to do that.
At university, she successfully coached and competed in the university cheerleading championships, but unfortunately, she suffered a career-changing ankle injury.
Where I landed, there was just like no foam, so my foot hit what felt like concrete to me.
And she is now a fitness model and coach, and she's got a wonderful community on social media.
I actually think there's something in this where I can help people. Yes, the money in social media is ridiculous, but you have to work for it as well. I'm stronger coming out the back of that, no matter what it is.
Hiya, you're listening to Stronger Than You Think, and this week we've got a really special guest, one of my fellow gladiators, Ella-Mae, also known as Comet.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
We just touched on it there in your intro. You do have an amazing community, and it's not easy to do that and to build that. So let's go from the beginning, shall we? Because you've always been into your fitness, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, how long do you have? I will take you right back. So my sort of passion for sport came in at a very young age. My parents, when me and my brother were younger, were kind of thrown into so many different sporting disciplines, and we were kind of able to find which one we loved the most and then almost pursue that as we were growing up. So we did like badminton, I did ballet, we did skiing, we did swimming, dance, gymnastics, and gymnastics was one for me that I just absolutely loved. And my brother would go to his football on a Sunday and I'd be cartwheeling all around the edge of the pitch. So I just knew that I just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So I was 5 when I started. And then I quickly sort of progressed into the squad. So I think I was training for like 4 or 5 times a week when I was like 7 years old. So it was a massive commitment at a young age, but I had a talent for it and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And my mum and my dad were very, very supportive of that. So quickly kind of progressed into the squad. I was competing at like county level. I did a few sort of like regional competitions, and then I did a couple of national competitions, and then I did one international competition, which I can't really say I was ever part of Team GB because it was a friendly, but it was just such an amazing experience. But I'm quite tall, so I'm 5'8". Everyone always asks me that on social media, by the way. Really? My number one asked question is, how tall are you? Really? Whenever I put up a Q&A, it's like, I'm like, why do people want to know this?
Why are you so interested?
Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway, so I'm quite tall, and it was more of the like flexible, elegant one. So like I like excelled in like floor and beam and bars. A vault was not my forte. I did run into the vault once at a competition, and I'll never live it down.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, competed at a high level, and I got to like 12, 13, and a couple of things changed within my club, and I just found it so demanding on my body. Like take Simone Biles, for example. Her physique is small, she's compact, she's muscly, she's a powerhouse because you can get more turns in the air, like you can twist faster. So I think gymnastics has kind of like shifted a little bit from what it used to be. If you go right back, like your Olga Corbett's were like the flexible, elegant ones, and it's kind of gone more like power. So I was 13 and I was like, do you know what, this is too much on my body and I can't commit to these days a week. So I gave up when I was 13, but I still had that fire in me that I wanted to compete and I wanted to be part of professional sport. And I remember seeing Tom Daley on the TV, and I was watching it with my mum. It could have been the Olympics. I can't really remember what year it was. And he was going off like 10 meters. And I was like, Mum, that's the sport for me. I was like, that is so cool. That's what I want to do. So I went to my local, I did a tryout. They put me straight in the squad because a lot of the skills that you have in gymnastics transfer really nicely across to diving, except you're going in your head and you're landing on your feet. But, you know, it's quite like flexibility you have to like jumping, twisting in the air, like body awareness. It's all transferable skills from gymnastics. So it was like a really nice transition. So I went into diving, and you can do springboard or you can do platform. I wasn't that great at springboard, so I loved platform, which is just the solid one. So I started training in that, and I did really well in that. I went on to compete at nationals, and then when I was like 17, 18, I went off to America to a diving camp, like a training camp, to train with an Olympic coach. And I was kind of at this point toying with the idea, like, where do I want to go next? I was kind of finishing school, and I took a year out, so I did 2 summers in a row there.
The question I've got is, when you were diving, and when you had gone to America, how much were you training? You know, how much of your life did you have to dedicate to that?
So I think I did like 5 or 6 weeks out there, and I went on my own at 17, which was quite daunting. Like I just got on a flight and I was like, see ya. And we were training, so it was a diving camp. So it was like a lot of people from America, loads of different states would come to this camp to train with this coach. And we were training twice, 3 times a day maybe for like 6 weeks straight. So we'd get up in the morning, we'd go to the pool, we'd have a session, come back, we might do like a little bit, it's called dry land training. So like you practice a lot of the skills like that you're gonna then transfer to the pool on like a trampoline or in a harness or like onto crash mats. So you do a lot of conditioning and dry land skills. So we'd have a session on that, and then we'd go back to the pool for like the afternoon session, and then we'd come home and probably chill. So yeah, pretty much every day.
What do your friends and family make of your trip? Were they all really supportive?
Oh, they were so supportive. I mean, like my mum supports anything I do. She is my biggest cheerleader. I think your mum's pretty similar, isn't she?
Yeah, 100%.
So obviously she was worried about me, called me like every 5 minutes when I was out there. But I think it was just really good for me. It made me grow and mature quite quickly, because it was quite a young age to just get on a plane and go.
Jodie, I want to touch on that with you then, because obviously Ella-Mae's met your mum. So tell us a little bit about that.
Great woman.
Yeah, well, I think they're very similar, like very supportive, you know, mums who would, regardless of what we choose to do in life, I think they would just back us 100%.
Mm-hmm. I think when you're young as well, like, and you're good at what you do, your parents have to give up their life to enable you to do that. So they're taking you to and from training like every single day. So they kind of have to be 100% with you, because it's a lot for them to drop like their lives or weekends, or that your mum probably spent every Saturday, Sunday on a rugby field.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they're putting as much commitment as to us actually training. Like, even if it's like washing dirty rugby kit from like before going to school and stuff, just little stuff like that. I mean, if you don't have that support system, I don't think we probably won't be where we are. So
yeah, you're like, I better do well. Because
I bet your mum's like, you better do well.
yeah, literally.
You get to university. You've just been to America. Did that give you some sort of taste for the cheerleading already, do you think?
It didn't.
No?
Only because I wasn't around the cheer girls when I was in America. I was only around diving. I put my name down for gymnastics and cheer. Went to both tryouts, and I was like, cheer was just so fun. Like, everyone was just so nice. And I think there is a massive stigma around cheerleading, by the way, because I, even before going into it, didn't realise how much skill and how much like fitness that it took to be a cheerleader. Like, you're doing a routine for 2.5 minutes, but you're chucking someone in the air, you're jumping. If you're a tumbler, like a gymnast, you're tumbling. And it's like a 2.5 minute routine. I've never been tested like that in my life, fitness-wise. Got my cheerleading coaching qualification, and then coached it in my final year, and then we ended up winning university national championships. So
that's amazing. You actually had a tumbling accident, didn't you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I came out of uni, I was a bit kind of like, I've got so much behind me. I want to go and join a cheer team outside of uni because I loved it so much, and I want to go to Worlds. And if you're in like the cheerleading community, Worlds is like the competition that's held in America that is like huge. So I wanted to go and compete in Worlds, and I had gymnastics behind me, I had diving behind me. I started to get a little bit into the gym at uni, but I wasn't like as obsessed as I am now probably. And I was like, I want to be a stunt woman. So I went back into the gym and started just picking up certain skills, because when you go on the stunt register, you have to have, I think it could have changed since I started my application, but like 6 different disciplines. And then there's skills within each one, and you have to basically get them ticked off. And I went back to my childhood gym with a friend, and we were tumbling into the pit. So it's like this big kind of like area with like foam blocks in it. So when you're learning new stuff, it kind of cushions your fall, so, you know, you're not landing on a hard floor. And I think it was my like second tumble, and I landed from like a straight back, which is like a straight back somersault, bolt upright. And where I landed, there was just like no foam. So my foot hit what felt like concrete to me, and just crushed. But it didn't turn, it didn't twist, it just crushed. And I was
impact.
and as soon as I did it, I just remember being shot this feeling of like feeling sick. So I crawled out of the pit. I was kind of walking, but I knew that I'd done something really, really bad. Said bye to everyone. I was like, right, I've got to drive home now, like knowing that I've just played that down. So I got in my car. I don't know how I drove home. I really don't know how I drove home. I drove home, I got home, I was like, Mum, I think I've really hurt myself. Like, but maybe I'll just sleep and it'll be better in the morning. Maybe it's just a bit of ligaments. I woke up in the middle of the night and I went to take a step and just collapsed. And I was like, this isn't good. So my mum took me to hospital. I had like x-rays and stuff, and I'd basically broken my talus, which is like the side bony bit of your ankle, into loads of little bits. And where the impact had happened, I'd damaged all the cartilage between sort of like in the subtalar joint. So all the cartilage there was damaged, and I'd like cracked my heel bone. So I'd like basically blown it apart. I was just trying to be a tough nut, probably.
You are a tough nut.
So I was just like...
I mean, shattering your heel and then driving home.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh. It was all a bit of a blur, to be honest. This was a couple of years ago now. So I went to hospital. I had to have surgery in the ankle where they basically put like pins in the side of it to hold it all together. Started rehab, and then that's when things literally just turned on its head.
How long were you like bedbound for?
Like the first good month, I was probably like recovering. Yeah. And then when I could start to move again, I was like, well, I guess I'll just have to go to the gym because this is the only thing that I can do right now. So my mum took me to the gym pretty much every day, dropped me off in my boot, and I just kind of like did what I could. So I sat on machines, I did upper body, I did abs. And that actually saved me, because if I didn't go to the gym during that time, I don't know what I would have done, because I was just so annoyed and angry that I couldn't go and do everything that I thought was going to be like my career path. And if I didn't do anything during that time, I would have probably gone insane. It's a lot to kind of go from everything that you ever wanted to like nothing and just going to the gym. So, and I'd also like, because of the injury, put on weight. I've always had an athletic physique, but not at that time. Like I just felt like I'd ballooned, and I like would go as far as saying like I looked in the mirror and thought that I like hated myself. So I was like, I feel disgusting, like I'm not fit, I can't do this, I can't do that. So then I was like, put everything that I had, all my energy into the gym, and started this process, and then fell in love with it. And the more I did and the more I went, the more I learned, the more I spoke to people. When I was back on my feet, I literally just picked up a job working as a receptionist in like the local gym. Then I was like, right, I need a proper job now. And my mum was working in aviation. And I'd never even thought about it. But she was like, look, there's this job going. I can have a word if you want. And anyway, my mum had a word, got me an interview, and it was something called customer service representative at a company called Signature, which is like a private jet handling agent. It was a cool job.
So what kind of people did you meet along the way?
Very cool, interesting, high profile business people and celebs. I don't think there's anyone that I didn't meet. Dr. Dre, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Sure I am, it's fine.
Yeah, you are.
Dr. Dre flew in, and it was his birthday, and I met the flight. So I would describe that job as like, you're kind of like a meet and greet. So from the minute the passenger arrives or the crew arrives, like they're yours to make sure that everything goes smoothly from start to finish. You could be asked to go and get them some kind of special milk from the supermarket, or you can like you get the crew ice and you check passports. So there's a lot of different things, which I love because the job was never the same. So anyway, Dr. Dre flies in. It was probably like within my first 2-3 weeks of working there. And when they land, sometimes they'll be like, look, we have all this food. Like, do you want any? And depending on who they are or what they've got in, sometimes it's really nice stuff. And Dr. Dre had this birthday cake and he was like, do you want it? So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to say no to Dr. Dre's birthday cake.
What was it?
Chocolate.
Oh, that's my fave.
Imagine that. That's a cool story
it was,
to say, isn't it? Like,
it was cool. I've shaken Johnny Depp's hand. Yeah. I've met The Rock. I've met Kevin Hart. I've met a lot of people, but they won't know who I am. And it wasn't just like the celebrities. It was very, business people, high profile people. Like the royals would come in and out. Not all the time, but like we would have them. So yeah, it was no day was the same at that place. So I I was working, but then I was training alongside this. So as I was working and the time went on, I started to progress in the gym. Like my body started looking better. I started feeling stronger. I started feeling, more how I wanted to feel. And I was posting snippets online. Didn't have a following at this point at all, just like friends and stuff. I remember we organised a trip to Ibiza with the work girls. And I'd worked really, really, really hard for this trip. I was like, I want to look and feel my best on this trip. And I put a picture up, and I think it was the first time since I was probably like 10 that I had abs. And loads of my friends were like, oh my God, like you look amazing. Like, how have you done this? What are you doing in the gym? How are you eating? How are you training? And I was like, I have so much knowledge now, especially with my sports science degree, my previous coaching experience. Like, I actually think there's something in this where I can help people, because I was doing a couple of friends like, oh, you need to eat this much protein, or you should probably eat this in the day. So I was kind of doing it for my friends. And then I was like, do you know what? I love doing this, and I'm so passionate about this because it's genuinely changed my life that I want to help other people. So COVID came around. So I'd sort of done my own little transformation. I was a proper like gym girly at this point. I was taking my meal prep on shifts, and people were like, oh, she loves the gym.
Have you always been like that? Because obviously you have a gymnastics background. Was it quite regimented with what you ate when you were younger as well?
Gymnastics was strict. I remember like a lot of our coaches would go like in our lunch boxes, and even if you had like a granola bar with like a little bit of chocolate in it, it was gone. Like you weren't allowed it. It was very like, it's changed a lot since then. It's very different, but it was bad.
Especially when you're so young, trying to build that relationship with food. It's obviously something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
And people are just not educated about food. No. So I'm not surprised that people are so interested about how you got to where you were.
And I think that's come such a long way as well. Like there's so much information out there now, which you could literally go on TikTok or online and be like, oh, cool, this. Like I'd never heard the word calorie deficit probably ever in my life until I started the gym and like learning about it. And that's even come so far as well, and everyone now knows that as a staple, like weight loss equals calorie deficit. But before, like even at uni, I did nutrition at uni, I didn't even know about that. So COVID came and I was like, this is actually the perfect time to do what I want to do. So I looked online, I found this PT course and I qualified. And I remember like, I think furlough went on for like 6 months during COVID. And then at the end of the 6 months, because aviation got hit badly, like travel was just ruined, they were like, we're going to have to start making cuts. So we all kind of knew it was coming. And when they said, right, we're going to make redundancies and we're cutting X amount of people from this team and X amount of people from that team, I just thought to myself, I just qualified. I've got the knowledge. I want to help people. I believe in myself. I just went, do you know what? I'll go. I was in a very fortunate position that I lived at home still, and I didn't have bills to pay, and I didn't have a mortgage, and I didn't have responsibilities. I don't have kids. So I was in a position where I could do it, and I could take that leap.
Best time to do it, right?
The best decision I've ever made, because I've never looked back from that moment. So I thought, well, I want to go into the online world, because I knew that was also where it was at, because I could juggle way more people in an hour than I could like in the gym. In the gym, I've got 1 hour with one person. I can't go on my phone, but online I can do probably like a couple of clients in an hour. So I was like, this is where I want to do. This is where I want to go. So I started doing that, and then I started posting on TikTok because of Millie Pickles. So Millie Pickles was training in my gym, and I knew her from just being around the same area, and she kind of like knew what I was going to do, and I messaged her one day, and I saw her in the gym, and I just said, like, if you ever want to train together, like, let me know. So we did a session together. She was like, you really need to start posting on TikTok. And I was like, okay. I was like, I started, my Instagram was building a little bit, but not to any sort of certain level. She was like, post on TikTok, I promise you, like, brands are going to see you and recognize you. Like, I just think it's the time to go. So I was like, okay. So I remember doing a few, and they didn't do very well. And then I did this one video, and I woke up the next day and it had like near 1 million views. And I was like, this is wild, because I'd never experienced anything like that before, because I wasn't in social media. And I was like, oh my God, this is mad. And I think in like the space of a week, I had over like 15k followers on TikTok, and for me that was huge, because I just got in at the moment where it was like the perfect time during COVID. People were bored, people wanted workouts, so I just started documenting. Don't get me wrong, like I grafted. I put content in twice a day, every day on TikTok to grow. And within like a year, I think I had like over 200, 300K on TikTok. And then from TikTok, people started coming to my Instagram, and that's when my Instagram blew. It took a while to build up. I did within a week, I did grow very quickly, but it was also gradual.
So with the TikTok video, can you remember what that first video was that did really well?
Yeah, it was literally a HIIT workout, because you have to remember, like, gyms were shut. And then from that, I just thought, I just ran with the momentum.
Yeah,
I just ran with it, and I kept going, and I kept posting, and I kept showing what I was eating and what I was doing and how I was training, and like little gym fits and stuff like that. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I was just like, I think if I didn't seize that moment, I just kind of left it, or like, oh, I've got one viral video, like it wouldn't be what it is now. Like, I think people do forget how much time and effort goes into creating content.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to say you can also listen to our podcast episode with Millie Pickles, so make sure you do give that a listen. She's absolutely amazing, and it's so nice that you guys made friends at the gym. I think it's a really safe space, and lovely that you can kind of build the community and be supportive, both women in fitness and on social media now. I feel like it's a huge commitment though. You've started something, you didn't know where it was going to go, and like you say, it is about consistency, but also how do you keep things so fresh?
I don't really know. I think you just have to literally be yourself and be authentic and genuinely do what you are posting. Like, content takes time, and sometimes, don't get me wrong, not every day you're going to be inspired or creative or whatever, but it genuinely just posted my workouts and what I was eating. So I think it was quite like relatable, and people were like, oh, this is, I don't really know what the kind of interest was in me, but I just was posting stuff that I was doing at home and throughout lockdown, and how I was changing things and adapting things. I remember having like, I didn't steal, someone lent it to me, some gym equipment from one of the gyms that I was training at, to when we had the second lockdown, I think. So I could actually train with weights at home. And I had 2 dustbins, like the plastic ones, either side, and that was my squat rack. So whatever the weather, I think it was freezing cold, I'd put the weights on there and I'd use that as my squat rack. So I was just like adapting whatever I could. And it was just, I don't know, I guess people just enjoyed the journey and seeing how I was still keeping up with fitness.
Obviously, in general, so many people like struggle with social media as it is. And obviously, it's your business, it's what you're doing every day. Do you tend to struggle to like switch off?
Yeah, massively. I think that's what a lot of people don't see or appreciate from a creator, is that you don't have a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. You have a Monday to Sunday. The hours you're sleeping, you're not working. Because the moment you wake up, and if you want to keep people on board and you want to keep people engaged, you have to post. You have to keep posting, even if it is just following your day or showing someone what you're eating or where you've gone. Like, you have to post pretty much every single day to keep those people on board. And I think you don't switch off because you're getting a constant influx of messages and responses, plus you're doing your content, plus you're editing. Like, it is a lot all the time. Like, there are so many different elements to it. It's not just creating a piece of content and then putting that up online for people to see. It's everything that goes into creating that, the caption, the hashtags, the comments on it, replying to those comments, replying to those DMs, like, and you're constantly trying to then also keep up with what is current and what is relevant. And it's like, it's mental. I do really struggle to switch off. I do. Yeah,
I was going to say, like you say, you're not just posting stuff. Even when you're not posting or editing, you still have to be on social media looking for like inspiration and ideas of what you're going to post the next day.
Yeah. It was the first year that I grew, and I was so go. And I had a holiday booked with my brother. And just before then, I remember being like, I'm going to have a mental breakdown in a minute. Like, this is so much. Like, I can't handle this anymore. And I think that holiday really reset me and just showed me that actually it's really important to try and have that time. Even though I wasn't switched off on holiday, because I was like, what's the perfect moment to create content? Like, that's silly if I don't.
Perfect backdrop.
But I was relaxed, and it gave me that time. And I was like, okay, I need to book more holidays, because otherwise I'm just going to burn out.
Do you ever have a social media break? Do you ever switch it off?
No.
Wow.
I probably should. I have days where I'm not as active. Maybe I've put 2 stories up that day. Like, that for me is like a break, like 1 or 2. But I probably should have like a whole day off. There's times when I'm quieter and I'll be like, hey guys, I'm really sorry that I've been quiet, but this is going on or that's going on. Like you do prioritize things that happen in life.
And do you feel like you have to tell your followers why you're quiet?
A little bit, yeah. Because I lost a lot of followers throughout the filming of Gladiators because we weren't allowed to post on social media, really.
Interesting.
I'd lost about 10,000, from start to finish, I lost about 10,000 people because I wasn't posting as consistently.
I didn't know that were even a thing.
Yeah. And I was panicking in Glads because I was like, my head needs to be in this, but then I've also like trying to keep up with my business. So it just goes to show that people do follow you and notice when you're quiet and when you're not.
See, I wouldn't have thought that they would have. Sometimes I see some of my friends being like, hey guys, just having a bit of a break. And I'm like, oh, well.
Do you really tell people?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that you did. And I'm pleased that I know. But also, like, if you did just have a break and you came back 2 weeks later, I'm not sure I would have noticed. But it shows kind of how committed your followers are. This is something that isn't maybe talked about so much, but there's money to be made in social media. Like you say, it pays your bills.
It's changed my life. It has changed my life, but it wasn't just social media. It was a business that I built off the back of maybe not gaining a following, but like my online coaching business. It allowed me the freedom to do that because I can work from anywhere. I can work remotely. I am my own boss in an essence, but then because I'm my own boss, I care so much more about it because it's my baby and I don't want to let it go. And I've put so much work into creating that to where it is. I mean, the money in social media is ridiculous, but you have to work for it as well. Like,
I don't think many people realise quite how much money you can make from social media. You know, some people I know, they're making like tens of thousands from just one post. And you just think, if more people realise that, I think more people in lockdown would have been like, maybe I should make some videos. Because it really, the effort that you put in, it does pay out dividends in the end. But like you say, it's like your life, it's time, it's consistency, it's huge commitment, and it's keeping things fresh and exciting, which is something you've absolutely managed to nail. You just touched on it there, Gladiators. How did Gladiators all come about? Because obviously you guys know each other from filming. I'm incredibly excited to be sat next to two Gladiators. Like, how cool is that? But yeah, how did you get spotted for that? Was that through social media as well? For both of you?
do you want to go?
Well, it was like, for me, it was obviously I followed Gladiators since I were a kid, and I knew it was coming around, and then obviously there were trials in place, and then obviously you don't just turn up to a trial, you have to be offered the trial. So I didn't even think I'd get offered a trial. And then when I did get offered a trial, all the dates I couldn't do because it clashed with rugby, like rugby training, it wind season. So I didn't think I'd be able to do it. And then there was one trial, and I think it was like the last trial apparently, during like this sort of deload week, basically our week off. I thought, right, I'm just gonna do it. Chiefs know now, but yeah. But obviously, I sort of went. I didn't think anything would come from it, and then obviously, it kind of just started to progress. And then,
How many are there?
Of Gladiators, 16.
16.
Men and women.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. I wasn't
each.
expecting
It's a big
so many.
bunch.
I didn't think there'd be that many,
No.
to be honest.
But it's just like a big family, basically. By like the end of it, it was just.
It was so intense. We
Yeah.
spent every day together for like 3 weeks straight for like 12 hours each.
And what was the trial like? What did they make?
I would describe it like an adult sports day.
That sounds so fun.
It was fun, but I remember waking up the next day like, I feel like I've been in a fight. I was like,
Been beaten up.
everything hurts.
Yeah, it was like it was such a mixture of things. So it might have been like how many pull-ups you can do in a minute, and then with the contact element, it were like you had to just basically try and smash your opponent outside of like a ring. With a tackle pad, which for me, I absolutely loved that. But then there were like other stations that I wasn't so good at. But it was like you saw different people's strengths. So.
And I don't think you were. Obviously, you wanted to smash every single one of them, but they weren't looking for you to be the best all-rounder. Like I didn't know what they were looking for, so you just have to do your best on everything. But obviously, they're going to be things that you do better in than others. Yeah. So it was pretty.
Then there was even like
hard.
filming everything we were doing on the trial. I think it was to see how our personalities were, or how we were like. I don't know, interacting with the other sort of people in the trials and stuff, just to get an idea of who you are. And then it was quite bizarre, wasn't it? But and then
did you feel like you were being judged on absolutely everything, or like you just didn't really know
like you had to not be on your best behaviour, but you knew you had to like be your best self.
It's like the ultimate audition.
1,
did you get to choose your names, Comet and Fury? And 2, did you get to choose the outfits? Because obviously you guys look so good.
I know some people kind of changed their name because they weren't quite happy with it, but I didn't choose mine. And when they gave it to me, they were like, have a think about it, like, let us know your feedback. So it was kind of a little bit of both. Like, if you were given it and you were like, this doesn't sit well with me, like,
I think that's really
probably
nice,
have a conversation about it. But I let mine like mull over for like a week, and then I was like, do you know what? Yeah, I do like it. It does suit me. It is who I am. It is what I'm about. I
love that.
you.
I was literally the same as you. Like, they kind of sort of said, "Oh, you're happy." It was like, "You're happy." We were Fury, and at first I was a bit like, where do you sort of get that from? And then obviously it's with my rugby background and like how my personality switches when I'm in it. So again, I kind of thought about it, and then I thought, you know what? May as well. And I'm a fan of Tyson Fury as well, so I thought,
makes sense.
There we go.
Works. And then with the costumes, that was sort of
with the we were given like a little mock-up of like what they could look like. So it wasn't like choose the one that you're a fan of. It was like, just have a look at these. Do you like all of these? Is there something you wouldn't wear? Rather than like, what would you choose? It was like, what wouldn't you be comfortable with? So we were given them. And then I think I was like, well, personally, I wouldn't really wear that because of my shape, or I wouldn't really like feel comfortable in that. And it did change. I remember like what I was shown to what it ended up being totally different.
Mine was similar to that as well. And I think what I liked was everyone had their own kind of style. Like, we're like the same colours and stuff, but everyone had their own style. So, for example, like, I felt like they sort of went with me sort of like a more like undershorts vibes with rugby and stuff. And especially with the amount of contact I was doing, I thought, I can't be having any pants because everything will be flying about. So
you had to feel pretty secure.
So that worked for me, but they were very accommodating with that.
Yeah, they were great, to be fair. They were like, what do you like? And then we tried on like different sort of like pieces. So there was like shorts, there was like knicker shorts. So you kind of were able to make it your own or put it to what you were happy with. So like for me, I don't like a certain bit of my arms. I was like, can you please cover that? Or can you make this shape, or make it sit a bit higher or lower or whatever. So we kind of co-design them.
I think that is so great that they got you so involved. I wasn't expecting you to say that.
With the shapes, nothing to do with the colours, nothing to do with the design, the materials they use, but in terms of shape, which I think is amazing, because especially as a woman, you want to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You want to feel confident, and when you feel confident, you perform better. When you feel like you look good, you do better. So I just think that was actually more important than you probably think it is, to feel good in what you're wearing.
Yeah, and everyone was so lovely as well. They just made you feel like you were meant to be there, and like you had to say in things, and it wasn't like, right, this is our idea, you've got to do that. It was everyone was in it together type thing, wasn't it? So
you've had an amazing journey so far, but can you give us an example of when you've been stronger than you thought maybe you could be?
I think it was what I spoke about earlier, coming out the back of that injury, and either like sitting and crying about it, or actually going out, turning it around, and like channeling my energy into becoming stronger in the gym. And that then ended up being my career. So I think that actually is for me like a time when I was stronger than I thought, because there were times when at the very beginning where I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I felt I didn't play the victim. Like, obviously went through something pretty traumatic, but I think if you can take that, and instead of focusing on what you can't do, or I can't do gymnastics anymore, I can't do this anymore, I can't do that. Okay, but what can I do? I can still go to the gym. I can still train my upper body. I can still get on a bike. I can still swim. So there were so many things that I could still do. So I think once I shifted my perspective into what I could do, that completely changed the game for me. And that was when I was definitely stronger than I thought I was.
So what's like the best piece of advice you've been given, would you say? Or something that you live by, maybe?
My mum always says to me, and I know it's quite a cliche one, but I do genuinely think it's true, what doesn't break us makes us stronger. Whatever has ever happened to me in life, like, if it hasn't broken me, I'm stronger coming out the back of that, no matter what it is. And I think that my mum's a very wise woman, so yeah.
Mums are great, aren't they?
They are. They really are.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ella-Mae.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely chatting to you.
You've been watching Stronger Than You Think with me, Jodie Ansley.
And me, Ashley Wilmots. If you like what you've been watching, then please subscribe and click the like button.